And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Wednesday, April 20th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories read here can also be found at our website at IndianCountryNews.com. So here are some of the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. A federal mediator has stepped into a fight over a California city of Vallejo's plans to turn a Native American burial site into a park. The Vallejo Times-Herald reports that an official from the U.S. Department of Justice mediated talks on April 18th between the Greater Vallejo Recreational District and Native American tribes. Park officials want to add a parking lot, bathrooms, benches, and trails to the 15-acre site and say they will protect Native American remains during the $1.5 million enhancement project. The tribes say the land is one of the last native village sites in the San Francisco Bay Area and should be left alone. They've camped out there since April 14th. The Navajo Nation Council gathered in Window Rock, Arizona to consider revisions to tribal law that would accommodate fewer council members. Members of the Navajo Nation voted overwhelmingly last year to reduce the number of lawmakers from 88 to 24 in a special election. The lawmakers were seated in January and have proposed a structure that cuts the number of council committees and allows for public input on legislation. The tribe's judicial branch has cautioned that revisions should probably be temporary only. The High Court says only the Navajo people have the right to make fundamental changes to the governmental structure. The tribal council were also going to consider the appointments of executive branch directors during its week-long session that started this Monday. Last month's huge earthquake and tsunami in Japan have renewed efforts by the Quileute tribe to move to higher ground away from the vulnerable Washington coastal town of La Push. The Daily World of Aberdeen reports about 400 families, the tribal headquarters, elderly center, and a school are in harm's way on the 1.5 square mile reservation at the mouth of the Quileute River. The tribe claims higher ground in the Olympic National Park but needs congressional approval to go there. Tribal officials were in Washington, D.C. earlier this month to testify for a bill that would designate up to 800 acres in the park for the tribe's use. And talking about water, Aberdeen, Washington was the launching site for the Mother Earth Water Walk on April 10th, and today they are, according to the map you can find at emptyglassforwater.ca/map. You can find them there that the walkers are moving right along on E. Danakas Road east of Ritzville. And they are moving toward the city of Sprague, Washington, and they're calling for some assistance from sundancers and staff carriers since the women are carrying the bucket of salt water from the West Coast to the Great Lakes, and they need some men to help carry the eagle and feather staff that was sent along. In addition, if you check that same map out at the bottom, there's a way to click on there. That is a blue link that says click here to see where we are right now, which is updated every 10 minutes by GPS. You'll see that another pail of salt water from the Gulf of Mexico left Gulfport, Mississippi this morning, headed towards Hadyburg, Mississippi, eventually going north. And the GPS is updated there as well every 10 minutes. So you can watch those walkers as they go along as they keep their batteries charged or people donate some new ones. Right now, we want to highlight a few clips from one of the lead elders that has inspired the Water Walk for Mother Earth starting in the year 2003. And we're going to try to keep you updated for those walks as they also leave the West Coast and Hudson Bay in the near future, for stay tuned. She is on the road today as well, walking towards the June 12th finish line on the Bad River Reservation, where all four directions come together, and her name is Josephine Mundaman.
For most of the ladies that were my daughters that were walking with me felt the same way, that there was a lot of apathy. There was a lot of people just not really understanding what we were doing, and they were making fun of us. That it was, when you're walking, when you're tired, and people are hooting, making these war hoop sounds to us while we're walking, and they drive by and you'd hear those calls. And some of them would even call us crazy, the crazy Indians. We had two people when we went for coffee, when it ran into the restaurant to go and get some coffee, and they called us, they told us we were crazy, of course we did admit we're crazy. Anybody that's sane wouldn't be doing what we're doing. So we did admit we were crazy. So it was very difficult in terms of, and on two occasions when I was walking with these two, with the young men that usually walk with me, there was vehicles, on two separate occasions, vehicles would come by, and they would yell, "Get a job!" You'd almost want to yell back and say, I'm 66 years old. I've worked, most of my life, all of my life, and I've never relied on anybody to support me. I've always supported myself and my family. So it was a very difficult walk. That it hurts when you hear. People just don't understand what you're doing. And so we were. The other thing that we've came across in 2004 was um, a book called Hidden Messages in Water that really cemented what we were saying all along, that water is alive. Water has feelings. Water can hear. Water can sense what you're feeling. Because when we walk around all the lakes, we sing for the water. We sing our water songs. We pray for the water. We give tobacco. Every stream we see a lake or even a little creek, we stop and give it tobacco, and we pray for that water. And so Dr. Omoto did scientific research on crystals of water, and how he did his research was that he he proved in his research that water is alive. Water can feel, water can hear, water can sense. All those things that are in us as human beings, water can feel the same thing. So it just helps to, it makes us feel good as women that, scientific research is proving what we've been saying all along. And in our ceremonies here on the grounds that we were here on Madigan Lake, that we do our water ceremonies every morning, and we acknowledge the sky realm where the water comes from, and we petition to the water to be blessed before we drink it. We do that I do that every morning anyway, and it's good to have a bunch of people share in that event of calling on the spirit for that water to be brought into that water, and then we drink it after it's been blessed and given its spirit for the water.
The ocean water that we're bringing to the center of where it all started in 2003, which is in Cedar, Michigan, not Cedar, Michigan, Cedar, Wisconsin, and at the midday school. And we're bringing the salt water from the four directions: the Pacific, the Arctic, the Atlantic, and the Gulf of Mexico. They will all come together on June 12th at Saxon, Wisconsin. And but they're starting different dates. And the first one is going to be April the 10th in the West Coast, Aberdeen, Washington. And we'll be walking with the water. Send-off will be on that date. And from there, I'll be walking for about 10 days with them, and then I'll move to the Gulf of Mexico on the 20th of April. And then I'll be with them for about 9 days, 9 or 10 days, and then I'll be going to the East Coast to start to send off there in the East Coast in the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, getting my oceans mixed up. And then after that, then we'll do the north, which is the Hudson Bay, Churchill, Manitoba, the salt water being the salt water there. So those four directions will come together at some point in time on June the 12th, and we're all going to converge at the same time and bring the water in at the same time and have a water ceremony there at the place where it all started in 2003 with the water, Lake Superior. And then the ceremony will be done with the salt water to converge the salt water with the fresh water of Lake Superior. So that's what's going to be happening. One of the main message that we want to bring is the collective consciousness of people about water. and to know that water is sacred in terms of how we look at water and how we see water, that it is not for sale, it's not for, you have to think about how you use water and how you take care of the water yourself. So hopefully that we can all be of the same mind, same heart about the water with this water walk, and hopefully that it'll spread all over the world in terms of how water is going to be so precious in a matter of a few years. Never mind how water is slowly being depleted.
And can you tell us about the role of women with water?
Women are life givers, and when we think about water, we know that birthing comes from water, and when a woman carries life within her, she carries that water within her, and life comes through that. And when in the spring, when the water breaks, Mother Earth also does the same thing. She gives birth to new life, and the same with a woman when she carries birth, that she's with the water coming, we know that the water tells us that life will come soon. So a baby is birthed after the water breaks. So we're in connection with our Mother the Earth when we think of the water. If we didn't have water, we wouldn't have life. And the same token that if water is all gone, then we wouldn't. The Earth would die. Everybody would die. We'd be without water. When we think about water. When we first come to the water, we offered tobacco, which is what we just did. We gave thanks for the water this morning. We sang a song for the water also. The sound of the water, that when the water hits the water, or the raindrops hitting the water, they make a sound. We just listen. Beautiful, beautiful sound that they make as they combine the elements with each other. From the earth to the earth, from the sky realm, and the whispering of the water is beautiful. Just to hear it dropping on the earth, and so we really need to think, especially as women, as life givers, that we understand the meaning of the water and how it gives life. Just the way women give life. We honor our Mother the Earth as a life giver too. And we really need to take care of her the way she's taking care of us. Now she's having a lot of turmoil, going through a lot of pain, and unable to feed her children in other parts of the world. And she's really suffering. She's really crying out for us to help her. She's helped us all these years, all these hundreds and thousands and millions of years. She's been beautifully giving us part of her life as her water. And now it's our turn to take care of her and really fight for her beauty, so that she can be forever giving us of this water, especially the next generations to come, that have yet to come, that they need.
And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country. On this edition of the Native News Update, we want to say miigwech, wan and pinigigi for showing up today. Come back again soon.